What is up, everyone? Welcome to day 11 of the Sketchbook Challenge. I am drawing more compositions for paintings that I'm planning to do. That's what I'm working on today while I talk about the topic of the day. The topic of the day today is falling back in love with art. So there's 5 steps, 5 pointers that you can use to help you fall back in love if you feel like you've lost the joy of making stuff, lost the joy that you used to have when you were younger. I think this is an experience that's very, very common, especially if you've moved away from art for a long period of time. Maybe you took on a serious job and life just got too busy to make art. It's very easy to fall away from the thing that you used to love. And these 5 steps will help you get back into it if you're trying to find that joy that you once had. Step number 1 to finding your love, finding your joy for the art again, is to stop problem solving while you're making the art. And what I mean by that is, as you have problems in your life, your brain is constantly trying to solve these problems. So let's say you have family problems, your financial problems, whatever health problems, whatever problems you have in your life, a lot of times your brain will be occupied by that, trying to problem solve for that problem while you're trying to do the thing that you enjoy. And this problem solving mind can keep bugging you while you're trying to do the thing that you want to enjoy and want to relax. Sometimes you'll watch a TV show and you won't even be really watching the show because you're so focused on trying to figure out how to solve the problems of your life. But you have to stop trying to solve your problems while you're making the art if you want to fall back in love with it, because you want to be focused on the joy that it brings you instead of trying to solve everything outside of it. Trying to consistently and constantly trying to solve for problems that are outside of the art will only cause you more anxiety. It'll take you away from the joy that the art can bring you. And this is something that I personally experienced, where I was constantly trying to figure out how to get into a better financial position while I was making the art. And this is not a good combination. You want to problem solve for your life stuff outside of the art and focus on the art while you're making it. And this kind of leads into step number 2 that you can take to fall back in love with your art. You want to develop your presence of mind. So you want to be present-minded. You want to be focused on making the work. So you can't be distracted by anything outside of that, right? So if you're on social media or doing other things that are taking your attention away from the art, it'll take your presence away from the work and it'll suck the joy out of it. Because to be fully in love with the work, you have to give it your attention. You have to be there in the moment instead of being distracted. So avoid distractions at all costs. Step number 3 is to pay attention to physical sensations while you create the work. So this is a kind of a hack to be more present-minded. You can pay attention to the medium. So if you're, for example, if you're painting, pay very, very close attention to what it feels like to hold a brush, to apply the paint. And this is something I do a lot, where when I draw with a ballpoint pen, I can really feel the texture of the paper if I pay really close attention to what it feels like. So paying attention to that physical sensation of just the pen going across the paper, the bumps of the paper. And if I really put my mind to it, I can really focus on these micro sensations as I'm making the work. And that makes me very present-minded. It takes away all my anxieties because I'm so focused on the moment. I'm so focused on what's happening here and now that I just fall in love with that process, because all the anxieties of life can just fade away because you're so focused on the here and now. It's almost like when you listen to a really good piece of music and you're just waiting on the next note because you're so in tune with the music. You can create that same sensation while making work if you pay attention to the physical sensations of making the work and the visual too, right? Like seeing how the paint is going on to the canvas or how the lines are coming out. All these things can really help you be more present-minded while you make your work. So that's step number 3. Pay very close attention to the physical and visual sensations of actually making the work, because it's a great way to be more present-minded. Step number 4 is to schedule playtime. Make sure that you put time into your schedule where you actually have the room and the space to actually create work that is just for fun. So if you're a professional artist, you want to separate out your commission work, your professional work, with the playtime work, so that you can be more loose and have fun with it. If you're someone who works full-time or you're a student and you do art on the side, make sure to schedule in time where you get to enjoy the work. Making space for it in your schedule is a great way to make sure that you remind yourself how much you enjoy this thing. Setting the expectation of this should be fun, this is playtime, right? If you think of it as, this is my recess in my week, We have lunch breaks now instead of recess. Imagine that you schedule your own recess in the evenings, for example, where this is playtime, I'm being childlike, I'm having fun in my sketchbook. Scheduling out that type of time will make it way easier to fall back in love with it because you're purposely being more loose with it. You're calling it something silly, just give it a silly name or just call it recess or playtime. Scheduling it in that way will make it way easier to enjoy that time, and it sets the expectation that it's not serious. Which leads me to point number 5, or step number 5, is to make sure that you don't take it too seriously. Art is dumb, right? If you think of art as very serious and very important, you might get attached to these expectations of how important it is, and it'll take you away from the joy that it can bring you. So make sure that you remind yourself, hey, this isn't a serious thing. I'm just making marks on a piece of paper, I'm applying paint. It's all for fun, it's dumb, it's not important. And by lowering the bar of expectation, it will make it way easier to have fun and just enjoy it and fall in love with it. When you're a kid making art, you don't think that you're making the next masterpiece because you don't really have a conception of what that even means. Even if you think that, the actual meaning behind it is kind of lost on a child. So try and get back to that point where you're just doing it in the moment, not having too many expectations, paying attention to the present moment, scheduling in time. These are all great ways to make sure that you fall back in love with the work. And that's it for today's video. If this was of value to you, consider subscribing and liking. You can also check out the website where I have tons of art and art tutorials, and also sign up for the mailing list because it's a great way for us to stay in touch. And that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow with day 12 of the Sketchbook Challenge. You can also watch from day 1 to day 14 of the Sketchbook Challenge by checking out the playlist in the description that will have all the days from 1 to 14. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Oh.